Initializing Next Life system. System ready.
What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Next Life. Today we're talking about 3 ways virtual reality is changing the game, and I just want to mention, I just noticed that in the background. It's bothering me, but I'm just going to go with it because, you know what? This isn't about being perfect. This is about creating content and just doing it, and that's the whole part of this whole damn thing is that, like, we're just going to get better as we go and figure out how to do it as we go and not care about how perfect or messy it is along the way. So I'm just going to leave that part behind and move forward. But anyways, not to digress, we're talking about 3 ways that are actually, and there's another mistake, 4 ways. Wow, okay, so it's just been one of those days. Was it Friday? Oh my god, it's Friday. Okay, it's Friday. I even meditated today. I don't know why I'm like all scattered all of a sudden. So let's recenter. Okay, cool, we're here. Awesome. We're back. Okay, so 4 ways that virtual reality is changing the game. If you guys have ever done virtual reality before, I don't know if you have. The most popular ones out right now are the Oculus Rift or the Vive. I actually have the Vive, and it is very interesting. For me, I was super attracted to the idea of virtual reality when it first came out, just because of the idea that we could literally reverse engineer our ability to perceive the world around us in terms of our visual stimulus, that we could reproduce that. And if you've ever experienced it, the VR world, it is very similar. It's very hard to distinguish between what's reality and what's not. I mean, you can tell that you're definitely like in a virtual environment, but like it's not going to be too long before that's not the case, where it's like it's very hard to determine the difference between the two. And when you're in there, it's just like it's real enough. It's like when you have your headphones on and your eyes are completely covered and you're just in this screen. It's your brain. I guess what I'm trying to say is that there's enough information for your brain to believe that what it's seeing is a reality. So, with that being said, VR is going to change a lot, and it's going to be a highly attractive technology in the future as we implement it into many different sources. And a couple of the sources that we're going to be talking about today are movies, are games, are like we're not going to be talking about shopping, but shopping will be a big one. Even just like the aspect of like exploring our universe, or like drones, or just being able to go places that you aren't, so non-remote or non-local movement, remote viewing of different places. So it's this is a super interesting technology, and so I wanted to go through a couple ways, couple new things that if you do have VR, or if you do want to experience VR, these are some things that you should definitely check out. So let's start off with the first one, which is, I'm going to pull it up here, is actually Google Earth VR, which actually this came out the end of last year, and I personally actually haven't had a chance to experience it, but I have a couple friends that have, and they say that it's phenomenal. Basically, you can basically fly around Earth utilizing Google software. Google's tremendous database of the Earth, and basically you can go just about anywhere, and you can go, you can be up in the mountains, you can look from like a higher perspective, or you can come all the way down to like the street level as just like as though you're like a human just walking around the streets of France or Australia or New Zealand, whatever you want to go. It's a really cool thing. And it's like, wow, now we don't even have to physically go places. We can just be there immediately. It brings a lot of interesting capabilities at our fingertips, and it's cool because I think that, you know, this type of thing allows you to, it's like if you want to learn about a country, you can actually go there now and really like get a feel for what that is, or at least visually, a visual feel for what that is. Obviously, it's not the same experience as actually going, but, you know, I would say like there's some percentage of the experience of going to another place that is really just like, you're just getting a visual stimuli, you know, you're just taking in this visual data. So like that's part of, you know, I could say it's like that's like, you know, at least like 10% of the experience is actually just seeing the architecture, seeing what this country or space looks like. And so with this VR technology, now you can just do that. You don't have to pay any money, just do it. So that's really cool. The next one I'm going to bring up is a game. This one's called A Chair in a Room. This is one of the first horror games I ever purchased, and it is very interesting. It's basically like a mystery horror game. You're this character who finds himself in this sort of almost like a testing facility, like some sort of asylum, and you're not really sure why you're there, and essentially like you have this like your character has PTSD of some sort and basically starts seeing things, and so slowly as you go through the game, the story is revealed to you, and it is honestly a very scary experience, because when you are in like, okay, so when you're in the VR world, like it really, you feel kind of alone in there, like you really feel like you're there, and when you have the headphones on and you hear a loud like bang in the what sounds like right behind you, and you hear like breathing down your neck, like that is it feels so real, and it's absolutely intense. So that's definitely one that it scared the crap out of me multiple times, and totally worth doing. For some reason, like I actually don't like horror movies, but horror VR is really fascinating to me, and I think that's because I have like control over the experience, or maybe it's like I want to try to not be afraid, or it's kind of like going into like a haunted house in a sense. I think that's more of it. It's that experience. It's more of that interactive experience. You're like engaging with your fears, and I think that's a really cool thing. So that's an awesome one. And the last one, and this is, I was right, it was three ways, three different things, so it's not four. So here's the third and final VR thing that I want to show to you guys. This is actually a VR movie. The movie's called Pearl, and it was directed by a former Oscar winner, Patrick Osborne, who had received the award for his Disney short film, Feast. So basically, this movie is actually just recently was nominated for an Oscar in the Best Animated Short category. It basically follows the lives of a father and daughter as seen through the passenger seat of the car that they share, and then the music that drives them, or at least that's the description of it. But yeah, it is the first VR movie to ever be nominated, which is really interesting, and so it brings to mind like the question is like, how will VR movies change things? You know, what kind of capabilities will we have with, you know, being in a virtual, actually being able to interact within a movie, you know, being able to really look around. It's like, you know how like when you're watching a movie and you're like, man, I gotta watch this like 5 more times to get all the details. You know, it's just like, imagine if like you can look around in 360 degrees, you know, look around and like think of how much more information you now have, and it's like if you have a movie that's extremely detailed and has all these like underlying meanings to it, it would be interesting to see, like, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of like kind of like, I want to say like hidden eggs you could hide in a VR film, or just even just like, I don't know, interesting things you can explore. Like it's just like, oh, you have to be looking in this particular direction at this particular time to catch this particular thing that happens. It's definitely fascinating, and it's like it gives this like first person experience, which, you know, is a whole different dynamic that we're not used to with movies. So I'm really excited about that as well. So that will definitely be interesting. Virtual reality for me, I think that it's a very cool, interesting thing. I think that I do have worries in terms of like, it's like when I am wearing VR goggles, I do feel that I can only keep them on for about like, I really don't like wearing them for like longer than an hour in one sitting. Just because you kind of get that feeling like you've been like staring at a screen for too long, especially if you're like on the computer a lot. And it's just like, you know how they said that like you're not supposed to like sit close to the TV. You know, this is kind of like this. It's like now we're like literally putting a screen up to directly on our face. So I'm just curious what the ramifications of that will be and like how it will affect like our eyesight. So there are questions to that. It's like of how that will work and you know what impacts this will have on us. But in terms of entertainment, in terms of exploring, like I guess we'd say reverse engineering how we perceive reality, I think it's definitely a fascinating topic and something to look into more of. So anyways, I hope those ideas were interesting, or those new different forms of VR were interesting. I actually should have shown, and maybe I'll show you guys in the future, is IKEA actually just came out with an app where you can walk around one of their own kitchens and kind of like design or kind of choose different like table settings and like different colors to the walls, and like you can open cabinets and such like that. So stores are definitely like already starting to tap into this technology, which is quite interesting. And I'm sure in the future it'll be very common to like go to like Amazon VR store and just go to like in a VR mall, and you can go and literally just try on things with your avatar and literally buy them there, and they'll ship them directly to your house. I'm sure that will be a thing very soon. So it's interesting. The developments are definitely interesting. But yeah, hope y'all enjoyed that. Love y'all. Peace and love, my friends.